Hi everyone. Today I'm going to talk about how to declutter your home for self-care. First, I'm going to talk about some of the mindset shifts to focus on self-care. Then I'm going to talk about the act of decluttering to improve your self-care. And then I'm going to give some tips that will help you to declutter for self-care at the end. So you're going to want to stay on for that. I wanted to tell the story of a recent client that we worked with. Um, she, I think she really had self-care in mind when she reached out to us. She kind of had clutter all over the house, and it was a person who lived alone, a small home, but a freestanding house with, a first floor and an upstairs, so multiple bedroom spaces. And she kind of had a nice yoga room. To me, it looked a lot like a self-care room. There was some craft stuff in the closet, a yoga mat, some other exercise equipment in there, and like a keyboard, so for, some music. And, I think this person, that was a real haven. And then when that started getting cluttered, it was like, we need help. So we went out and really did a transformation. She was more interested in one of those quick turnarounds, which we love to do. We were able to come in and over the course of a week, able to make all the changes that she was looking for. And even at the end, she had these lovely plants in the living room, and she just said, these plants are annoying to me. And I kind of said, hey, like maybe that's too many plants. Every person is different. Just like you like spaghetti and I like macaroni and cheese, and you like hot sauce and I like barbecue sauce. People like different amounts of visual stimulation and different amounts of stuff out in their home. And I would not say at the end that it was a cluttered home at all, but I think it was still too much visual stimulation for her. So when you're thinking about self-care, you really want to tune into what you want, what you're looking for, what's comfortable for you, and create that in your home. So like I said, she had a bunch of plants, and I said, well, why don't you, it's lovely summer here, take some of the plants outside and just see how many plants feels like the right amount of plants, right? To some people, more is better. To others, maybe she just wanted a few plants. So then I followed up with her a couple days later, and she was like, I feel so much better with these plants. She kind of figured out what the right amount is. So, it's sort of twofold. You can make space to be able to care for yourself and make self-care a priority in your home. And also the act of decluttering can be self-care as well. So it's kind of twofold. So I wanted to talk about some mindset shifts that I think will help you when you're thinking about self-care. So if this is your focus and your reason for decluttering or cleaning up around the house, I want you to really think about that as the strategy, right? So not like, oh, I have to clean up, oh, I have to do these chores, but really like, I'm doing this for myself. I'm doing this to prioritize myself. I'm doing this as self-care. Kind of keep that in the forefront as you're taking action or thinking about taking action. So giving yourself compassion. So just being gracious with yourself, no matter what your level of clutter is at home. It did not get like this overnight, and it is not going to be undone in a day or a minute. It could be undone in a day, depending on how much you work on it. But just being kind to yourself through this, using kind words, kind thoughts, kind self-talk, similarly focusing on progress over perfection, giving yourself like, hey, great job. Like I got rid of some things, or I cleared off my desktop, or I, really made my makeup area nice. I tidied up that shelf in the linen closet. Giving yourself those snaps or pats on the back or a round of applause, whatever you want to call it. And really being kind to yourself throughout this process and focusing on the progress and the steps that you are taking. There could be a million steps you're not taking. We could do that all day, right? There's a million things I'm not doing. That's like the negative. It's like, sure, coulda, whatever. But what are you doing, and focusing in on that? A strategy that I like to use both for myself and with clients is working on what's bothering you the most. So this is something that I did early as a kid even. If I was trying to get something out of a cabinet and something else kept falling over, I would pretty quickly be like, this is annoying or this is frustrating, and how can I change this so that it's not frustrating, annoying? How can you, do you need to get rid of something? Does something need a better home? Does it, does it need to be in the back? Just trying to identify those areas of friction and annoyance and get rid of it. That is compassionate to yourself. Like, why, if something's annoying, why are you living with it day after day after day, year after year after year, right? Take care of yourself, prioritize yourself, your mental health, and get rid of those annoying things. So starting in an area that bothers you a lot. Then you want to get some quick wins in. This is going to help boost those good feelings. That's going to give you the positive mindset. That is the self-care, getting some quick wins. Some areas that frequently become cluttered where you could probably, with not a ton of time, make some good progress and feel good about it are the nightstand. That's a great one because a lot of times what we're doing before bed is, to me it could be, or perhaps should be, the word should, I don't know. But, self-care, that's a great time for it, right? Many of us have busy days, we're working, busy lives, a lot of demands. Can you create that 10 to 15 minutes before you go to bed to not just scroll, not just doom scroll or play a game on your phone, but really put that aside and do some self-care and have a peaceful area where you sleep, that nightstand, the top of the nightstand, maybe the top drawer of the nightstand, where you have some of your self-care items, but also you're feeling good when you look at it. That's just a small piece that you could maybe get a quick win on. Another place where my decluttering journey started was the bathroom. The bathroom is a great place because there's usually not much in the way of sentimental items, which makes it easy to make those decisions. If you're second guessing yourself, typically everything is pretty replaceable. And a lot of us have, bathrooms are like, oh, the new beauty product, the new makeup, the new hairstyling product. A lot of times we'll buy something, try it a couple times and be like, that's not for me. And then it just sits there. So taking the time to get rid of all that stuff. And sometimes there's expired items. Similarly, if you have medications or sunscreens or anything, there are things that definitely expire in the medicine cabinet and that. So that's a great place to, again, get a quick win. And maybe you can prioritize, I'm back to the nightstand, but can the massager be easy to access so that you can use it every night? Or, what's the one mask you want to put on? And maybe that's sort of a self-care routine to massage it in and wait 10 minutes and, play some relaxing music. And can you prioritize putting that right out in front where you can get it easily? It's a no-brainer. You see it. You're like, yes, I'm going to do the mask like I wanted to tonight. The car is another place where you can get some quick wins, and depending on what kind of work you do, that can be a place for self-care, right? If you're sitting in traffic for hours and on end, having a lot of clutter in your car can be stressful. Being able to find the charger quickly or get your phone and your water bottle where you want them easily, having clear surfaces in the car, that can be another quick win. And then just narrowing down your focus, right? Because you might feel like the whole room is a mess, but really just one surface. Can I clear one shelf? Can I clear one drawer? Can I clear this top of the dresser, just this half? Any little bit that you can do, just shrinking it down so it's a very small, measurable goal for the day, that's going to help you. Okay? And having successes is self-care. Definitely small, frequent bursts are going to help. That's what I was mentioning, that friction. So anytime you're like, sometimes I'll be putting something away. Earlier today, I couldn't find my pens because there's too many markers. So probably if I took 5 minutes, decluttered the markers, looked for duplicates, moved them downstairs to like the marker area, that kind of stuff is small, but it's very meaningful to our mental health. We're spending tons of time and energy caring for things. And when you start to think about it and notice it, you're going to realize how much time and energy you're spending on your things. The other thing I was touched on a little bit, but thinking about where in your home you would like to be doing self-care and what self-care you'd like to be doing. So for every person, self-care is different, right? For some people, it's having the craft area where you actually work on crafts, not just collecting supplies. Spoken by someone who knows. Or is it being able to like sit down with your cup of coffee and a good book? Or is it sitting down with your hot cup of tea and putting your feet up on the deck or the patio without a book? Maybe the cat's going to come visit you and curl up while you're there. Just thinking about what's the self-care goals. Is it that yoga room? Is it a place where you can lay down and do a red light therapy mask? What's the goal? And then how can you create that space, that physical space to do it in your home? If you have a clean, nice room with the yoga mat out and it's ready to go, and not everyone has that space, right? There's realities of like limited space that we all have. But if you can have it out and have a nice, peaceful place, you're much more likely to do it than if the yoga mat is rolled up in the corner and there's stuff all over the floor. So just trying to make it so easy that you can do the self-care because the space is ready for it all the time. Letting go of guilt. This is a little bit of a different, I wanted to shift to some tips that will help you really declutter. And this is with the self-care lens in mind. So people they feel guilty about letting go of things, right? And there's a couple of reasons they do that, but just recognizing if you don't want something, I give you permission, and I want you to give yourself permission to let that thing go. Why should we live in homes with items that we don't want? It's a very basic question, but also it seems silly, but we're all doing it. Why are we living, what's the reason we're holding on to these things? And I think a lot of times it is guilt. One of the reasons people feel guilty is they paid money, sometimes a lot of money, sometimes the thing was very expensive, for something. And that's called a sunk cost. The cost is gone. Unless you just bought it and you can return it, the money is gone. And holding on to the item that you don't want, that's giving you an uncomfortable feeling, is not going to bring the money back. If you're into selling things and it's easy and you'll actually do it and that won't just become the new clutter pile, you can try and sell it. The reality is in the secondhand market, for most things, not Taylor Swift concert tickets, right? But for most things, people are not paying the original amount. For most things, the value is much less on the secondhand market. And so, again, it's just a sunk cost. And so accepting that and recognizing, I don't want this item, and giving yourself permission to let it go, regardless of the money you spent on it. The other thing is, I think people get caught up in feelings of guilt about, climate change, the planet, landfills. And similarly, it's a major problem. I have many concerns about sustainability and the world and what's happening. And also collecting significant amounts of items inside your home that actually are trash or actually belong, could be perhaps recycled at a recycling facility is not going to make a difference. And it's only going to make your life more difficult. So I just want to help you hopefully release some of that guilt. And sometimes you have to do it, right? We feel like there was a saying, this was a person who had strong collector tendencies. They said, I feel like if I get rid of this item, I will die. And she said, I know rationally I will not die. I know that. And yet I feel like I will die. And that's a valid feeling. And also what we have to do is tell ourselves like, hey, like that's something happening in our body, and there could be many reasons why, but that's something happening in our body that is trying to tell us like, don't get rid of this. That's where we have to overcome that a bit with our rational brain. Like, it's okay. I have plenty of whatever. I'm safe. I can get rid of this item and it will be okay. And sometimes you have to practice that over and over or many times until your body calms down, until your body believes what you're telling it. Okay? So you just have to, for self-care, with the lens of self-care in front, you might have to overcome a little bit of difficulty. And the more you let go of, and then you realize it's okay, that reinforces like, I can let go of something else and that will be okay too. You almost have to learn that in your body as well as in your mind. So I hope those tips and that mindset shift is helpful. I'd love to hear what you're doing for self-care. We all need to be caring for ourselves. It's a tough world out there these days. And I'm thinking of you, and let me know how you're doing.